Nimble has been focused on since day one is putting the R back in CRM. Today, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, but it really doesn't.
You just heard Jon Ferrara, the CEO of Nimble and a pioneer of CRM software. Back in 1989, he founded GoldMine, which became a wildly successful software that many companies used, and some are still using. Today we talk about managing sales processes and customer engagement while driving new sales and building loyalty, and how to store all that information so that you and your entire team are aware of the customer or the prospect. Also, we discuss social media becoming a primary method of contact and communication between us as businesses and our customers or prospects, using social media to do discovery and build a customer profile so that you truly understand who you're selling to, what their needs are, and how they're using your products.
Welcome back to the Our 2 Cents podcast, the show where your local professionals sit down with an array of guests to hear their story and impart some wisdom for both business and life-improving skills. This is your place to hear business and community leaders discuss relevant topics that matter to you.
And welcome to today's show. I'm Shannon Eckroth here with Jon Ferrara, CEO of Nimble. But before we get into the conversation with Jon, I'd like to invite everyone to check out the Our 2 Cents podcast Instagram account. It's at Our 2 Cents Podcasts, plural. And there you can find all of our latest episodes along with some behind the scenes and learn more about all of us, the hosts, while learning about our guests as well. In addition to that, I want to make sure that everyone has our website information. It's our2centspodcast.com. On there, you can also catch up with the hosts and the episodes, but you can also sign up for our newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out that captures all of the content or the podcasts from the previous month, along with lets you get to know some of our guests a little bit better. So you can sign up for that on the website as well. Finally, episode 112 was recently published. It's with Randy's Donuts CEO. If you don't know Randy's Donuts, they are an international company that has just decided to start franchising. They're very popular. They're a wonderful company. They have franchises, so you can check them out at 112. Hey, Jon.
Hey, Shannon, how are you?
I'm doing well. I wanted to have you on the show today. I think that there is still a ton of misinformation about CRMs. Why the heck you would use something like that? With my client base, they're ranging from the solopreneur at this point all the way up to very large companies with 24 salespeople. And I am putting everyone I work with on Nimble. It's still a sell, though. It's still a pitch I have to do. So I would love to have you kind of articulate what CRM is, why we need it, where it came from. So could you start a little bit with your history?
Sure. So first off, thank you for having me on the show. It's so nice to see you again. I love watching your journey as you grow and inspire and teach other people about how they can grow. I think that's why we're on this planet, is we grow best when we help other people grow. And so that's really the impetus of how I started on my journey of building what I call relationship management systems. I've actually never liked the term CRM.
Okay.
Because CRM really was created because management wanted to control what salespeople were doing. If you step back before the term CRM ever started, it really started with tools that help salespeople sell more, right? And it wasn't just salespeople, it was really any business professional, because your network and your brand are your net worth. And it really started with the Rolodex, right?
Right.
The Rolodex was your golden ticket to managing and nurturing the relationships you need to achieve success as a human being in the world. And the Rolodex evolved into something called 6x9 index cards, which was a index card that you would essentially write down who are you going to call, and then you take a note on what was said and the next step on what you're going to do, and then a recall date, when you're going to call them back, and you filed it into a file card folder based on that recall date. And that's what you did every day, is you went and you called back the people you're supposed to follow up on. And really it's about building process around the people and companies that you're connecting to. And that kind of was where I stepped in, is I used a day timer, and I struggled to outreach at scale because I had a computer science background and I knew pretty much every software program in the market because I worked my way through my computer science degree at a computer lens store. I knew there wasn't a program out there that helped a team to manage contacts.
What year was this? Can you set us up?
Sure, 86, 87, 88.
Okay.
And so that was back when something was called DOS that we ran.
Yeah.
And we used Novell networks to tie those computers together. But there wasn't network business software that tied together, shared the relationships that a team might be engaging with. So back then, there was no Outlook. There was no Salesforce. There was no term CRM or SFA even, Salesforce automation. But there was Outlook Express, which was your inbox in DOS. There was WordPerfect Office, which was network scheduling. But there was none of the network scheduling, and email was tied to the contacts and no shared contact database.
Sure.
And so what I wanted as a salesperson was a tool that my entire team can use, not just in the district office in Dallas that I worked in, but back at corporate as well. So that no matter who picked up the phone, they knew who the person was, what's happened, who did it, what's going to happen, who's going to do it. That's called team contact management. And that's basically where we started with GoldMine, was building the first team contact platform with integrated sales and marketing. That's the root of CRM, but the root is contact management for the team, not just salespeople. And where CRM lost its way was Siebel built an enterprise CRM in order to control what salespeople were doing, because management was afraid that they were going to walk out the door with their GoldMine databases. And they wanted to not just control the database, but to report on the salespeople. So CRM was actually created for management, not the customer-facing business team members. And that's why it's failed since the beginning of time, is because the reason they call it Salesforce, you have to force salespeople to use it. Nobody in their right mind would use a CRM if they weren't beat on to do it, because it's not built to help them engage.
Right.
That's why when you buy a CRM, you've also got to buy SFA tools like Outreach.io or SalesLoft or ZoomInfo.
Right.
Basically, the engagement tools of the templated email tracking software and the intelligence to enrich people and company contacts. And that's why when we built Nimble, when we started Nimble, we wanted to sort of reimagine what we started with GoldMine by building the first CRM that works for you, the customer-facing business team member, by automatically building itself and the contacts you already have, enriching them with people and company data so you don't have to Google them, you Nimble them, and then to give you the templated outreach email template intelligence to engage anywheres, and then the ability to plug it into your Chrome browser so that I don't have to go to the CRM to use it. The CRM works for me by building itself, and then works with me where I live. I live in my inbox. I live now more and more in social or some other business app. And so I think that CRM fails because it's designed for management, not salespeople by themselves. And most CRMs are only designed for salespeople. So if you Google CRMs and go look at things like Pipedrive or Salesforce, they're the sales CRM. But the thing is that a company doesn't just sell. There's only maybe 5% of a company at most that's salespeople. The rest of it is sales, marketing, customer service, accounting,
relationship building,
all necessary to grow a business. And so you need a contact platform, a CRM designed for the whole company, not just salespeople. And that's really what Nimble is, a CRM for the whole company, not just salespeople, and a CRM that's designed for helping people engage as opposed to tracking and reporting on them.
I think one of the best features of Nimble compared to any other software I've ever seen is the fact that there's very limited data entry that you have to do, because Nimble does lay on top of literally any software that you're in, any platform you're on, and it can pull customer or prospect information straight through.
I think that's the biggest drudgery that human beings hate, is typing data in.
Oh, yeah.
So there's two big causes of failure of CRM. Number one is lack of use, because it doesn't do anything for them. The second is bad data, because even if you beat on people to type data into a computer, the data is going to decay like rotten fish, and it's just going to get stale over time. And that's why I think your CRM should work for you by building itself, automatically enriching leads with people and company data. So you don't have to Google them, you Nimble them, and then work where you're working. Because if you do what you're supposed to do as a human being today out in the social world, which is build your brand and grow your network by sharing content that's inspirational and educational in and around the areas of promise, your product and services, where your customers, prospects, and their influencers having conversations, and then follow up with the people that engage with you with the intent to not sell them something, but to serve them and help them grow, you will have thousands, tens of thousands of connections. And you can only remember 100 of them in your head at one time. That's why you need a personal CRM, a CRM designed to help you engage that lives where you live. Because I open an email, I may not remember the person and the history. And you need context and insights before you engage. And you need your CRM right there where you're engaging. Because if I open up an email and I know I've got to do this for that person, if I don't do it right when I'm thinking about it, I'll forget about it. And I don't want to go to my CRM to do it. I want my CRM to be right there with me in my inbox or in social, so that I could then follow up and follow through, because I think it's the business basics that we all fail in. It's the simple things like follow up and follow through.
If we take a step back just a little bit, because this is audio and there's not going to be a lot of Nimble screen sharing, can you explain or break it down a little bit? The fact that you can have Outlook open or Gmail or whatever, but Nimble is literally open on the right side of the screen, collecting whoever you're talking to and actually populating that information and just asking you to hit the plus button to add that person to your Nimble or record the conversation. I think it's really important for people to get a visual understanding of what you're talking about, where you're at.
So there's really two main business productivity platforms that are in the market today. One's made by Google. I think it's called Google Workspace these days. They rebranded it. The other one's called Microsoft 365. So in the old days, you had Outlook and Exchange. Today, you have Microsoft 365. You might still have Outlook on your mobile or on your desktop, but you could also use the cloud version of Microsoft or Google, and they come with email, contact, and calendar apps. And so we all mainly live in our email apps. And when I open up an email, Nimble has a plugin called Prospector that if you add it to Chrome, it will automatically show up in Google Inbox Workspace. If you add it to Microsoft, it will automatically show up in your Microsoft Inbox or Outlook Desktop or Outlook Mobile as an add-in, that when you open up an email, you can open the add-in, the Nimble Prospector, and it will display a contact record for the person that you're engaging, person or persons that you're engaging with in the email, if the record already exists in Nimble. If it doesn't already exist in Nimble, it'll build what we call as a live profile that will essentially automatically go and gather all the identity information about that person, who they are, where they work, where they live. It'll even give you their avatar and their phone number and email if you want.
Right, and all their social links, whatever it can pull through.
Not just inside of your inbox, but you could literally do it anywhere as you browse. So that means in Twitter and LinkedIn, in your QuickBooks application, in MailChimp, or on in a Forbes article, or on that person's website. So you can go to the About page for people at a company that you're prospecting, and then hover on the name of the person that's a manager there or the CEO, and Nimble will automatically build a record for that person, give you their contact info, and enable you to send a templated trackable email out to that person in literally seconds.
Right. And I have to say, so for years now, I've been doing LinkedIn lead generation, much like I was doing when I was working with you before. And being able to open Nimble over somebody's LinkedIn profile allows me to switch from having conversations on LinkedIn directly into email, which is far more trackable and accessible than the LinkedIn inbox is. And to be able to pull, what people are influential by, there's so many demographics and pieces of the Nimble. It pulls in the details, the summary of a LinkedIn profile, etc. for your team to see moving forward. That contact record is the most valuable thing that I have found on the market yet.
Well, I really believe that people connect on what I call the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. In the old days, I taught people, when you go in somebody's office, look at their wall.
Right,
The degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collect. All these things are the things that you can then look at to see what you might have in common to share with that person in order to develop the intimacy and trust you need to get them to open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional you can then solve. Today, we do that electronically. It's just too hard. And so by having a rich profile that gives you all that person's information, that enables you to walk in the digital footprint to see what's current with them, you can then find an area of commonality to connect on. And let's face it, you don't start an engagement with, did you sign my contract? Are you guys ready to buy my program? Start it with, hey, Shannon, good afternoon, good evening. How about them Fresno Bulldogs?
Right.
Whatever it is that, share with that person that might be of similar interest. And that sort of warms things up where you can then get down to business.
Which is exactly what Nimble's displaying, right? Within the profile features. Can you talk a little bit about social selling? I feel like that's sometimes an overused term or underused, depending on, frankly, who your client base is. For my clients, it's still very understood.
The thing is Nimble really pioneered social selling and social CRM when we got all the social APIs, integrated them all, and really pioneered being the first on the market with that whole concept. And I think that maybe there's been a bit of backlash about social selling where we just sort of gotten away from the term because, and I'll tell you why that is. So when the internet first came out, companies started calling themselves e-toys and eye contact, and everything was E and I, right?
Yeah.
And then that kind of became passé when the internet became ubiquitous. So when things become ubiquitous, they disappear. So we don't talk about the internet anymore. Like when you go to your bathroom and turn the faucet on, think about the recirculation pipes and the instant heaters and all the things behind the walls. You just turn the water on, expect to be hot or cold and run, right?
Right, sure.
And so the internet is like ubiquitous. We don't think about it anymore. Social has become almost ubiquitous where we all really understand that social is the place where we all work, play, buy, and sell now, right? And so I think that there used to be social selling and social marketing and social service and blah, blah, blah. And now I think we've just gone back to
being social.
For a little bit, they were calling it modern selling, and now it's just selling, right? But that doesn't take away the fact that you need to be top of mind with your customers, their prospects, and ideally their influencers as well. And that the best way to do that is by giving your knowledge away on a daily basis in the places where your prospects, customers, and influencers grow and learn and converse, which means Twitter, LinkedIn, Quora, whatever works for your audience. And what happens is if you build an identity in the places where your constituency listens and engages, begin to share content, whether you curate it or you originate it, and then listen and engage to connect with others that content resonates with, not with the intent, like I said shortly a while ago, to sell them something. Mm-hmm. It's not connect and sell, it's connect and serve. Service is the new selling. And so you should connect with others, not with the intent to bag them and tag them, but to ask open-ended questions and listen to learn to find ways to add value to that person, such as an introduction or some advice or whatever it is. And if you do that properly in that sort of connection, that person will open the door and give you the opportunity to not only talk about yourself, but to talk about your product and services as well. And so I think that social media connection starts softly in places.
Absolutely.
It might be somebody likes your Twitter post or they comment on your LinkedIn post, or, it starts softly in one place. And what you want to do is you want to be able, when that connection happens, the comment, the like, whatever, hover on that person's name with the Nimble Prospector app, add him, and then build a live profile with that person to then do what I call the sniff test to see if that person fits the persona of somebody that you would want to invest in to build that relationship over time. And that would be either a prospect or customer or an influencer of a prospect and customer. And then if they are somebody you would want to invest in, then reel that relationship in to turn that soft connection into a firmer one. So wherever you find it, you then want to be able to take it and make it so that you have a face-to-face. So that could be a digital meeting, and then follow up that with a firm connection in LinkedIn. And then if you do all the stuff I'm talking about right, you take it to the softer places of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, because these are the places. LinkedIn is my business lobby. You're not going to really know about Jon Ferrara by walking to my business lobby. You want to walk in my digital footprint where you learn about my 5 F's of life, and then we have areas to connect with. And we used to do this in the old days. We used to take people to our home for dinner or to a ball game or whatever we did. And that was the softer side of business that builds the firm connections that let you ride the bumps, the inevitable bumps in business life.
I have a lot of clients that are still social shy. They're shy of being on social media or certainly finding prospects. And I mean, like you and I first connected with you on Twitter, I believe, and then it kind of spread out from there to the other platforms. Literally every connection that I hold value, I am somehow relationship focused with them on social media. And so clients, to get them into the mindset, it's a very archaic mindset to me now, as fast as things have developed, but you really learn a lot about somebody on social. And, you mentioned something that I think is super valuable. influencer marketing. So when you open the doors to Nimble, I feel like I really learned the most about influencer marketing through your journey and your decision to go that route to give noise to Nimble.
Well, influencer marketing is not new. I'm going to tell you a story about influencer marketing in the 1800s.
Okay.
There was a company called Defender Milk in New Zealand, and they were a powdered milk company. And back then, powdered milk companies were a dime a dozen. There were a lot of them. And you're competing for moms who are feeding their kids as an alternative to canned milk or breast milk. There's other uses for powdered milk, but a lot of them were moms. And so this company would get letters from moms asking about, is it safe for me to feed my baby powdered milk? And how do I do it? And what's this and that? And somebody in their customer service department started collecting the letters, and they eventually published a book called The Baby Book. And that book outsold the Bible and built Defender Milk into a global brand.
Wow.
Today, Defender Milk evolved into GlaxoSmithKline, a global pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
Very big pharmaceutical company. Back when I started GoldMine. So I built Outlook and Salesforce before either existed. How do you sell something people don't even know they need?
Please.
And you don't have money to advertise. I had $5,000 in the bank, which isn't much. Plus, I got to pay rent. And I think my apartment at the time was $700 a month. So it's not going to go very far. So I figured out the best way to access my prospects, my SMB prospects, was through the trusted advisor. And it was the person that sold them the network, because I had a car to drive on that network. So the Novell reseller who sold that small business their network that lets them tie together printers and hard drives was the guy or gal that I wanted to connect with in order to get access to the thousands of customers they sold networks to. Well, how do you do that? So I picked up the phone and I cold called all the Novell resellers in the country, and I got them to use GoldMine, because people say what they know and they know what they use. They started then recommend it and resell it. That's how we got to our first $100,000 a month in revenue. And so with Nimble, it was the same way. So there I was with social CRM before people even knew they needed social CRM, because if you think it's bad today where people don't think that social is a good place to sell.
Right.
10 years ago, Facebook was a place to hook up their high school sweetheart.
Right.
LinkedIn was a place to get a job. And Twitter was where a bunch of propellerheads told each other when they're going to the bathroom. So how do you convince people that they should be looking at a non-traditional CRM like Nimble? So what I did is I went and identified the influencers or thought leaders in and around the areas of promise of Nimble, thought leaders in social sales and marketing. And I started to share their content, hashtagging the category and attribute in their name, and then listening and engaging using Nimble in those channels to identify and connect with those influencers. And then I got on the phone with them, and I didn't basically start talking about myself and my product. I asked them questions and I let them talk. You know, Shannon, if you let somebody talk, they'll fall in love with you. Plus, they'll tell you everything you need to know to find a way to add value. And they became Nimble's early adopters and evangelists, and now they're our storytellers. And so I think we not only pioneered social CRM, but also social selling and partially influencer marketing, because we've been doing it forever.
Yeah, I really think, I was in the digital stages of software and so forth, but I had never seen influencer marketing done the way that you had done it, and really were able to kick off and build a follower base. And I think I was even swept in by an influencer and kind of caught on. Is that still a primary focus?
The beautiful thing about that is that they're dear friends. I think there's a lot of love for the Nimble brand because we've made it so human by building the brands of our team members who are connecting with these influencers, and by paying those influencers forward, not really asking them for stuff all the time.
Right. I want to ask, so again, I have many clients that are using Nimble in one way or another, whether it be teams or by themselves or whatnot. The features of Nimble, what's coming up? What can we expect coming up in Nimble for those users that are already pretty familiar with the platform?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we're doing right now is this thing called workflows that we've launched. And have you taken a look at that yet?
I have. When you changed the lead pipeline, I have a client in construction, and we do projects all over the country, and we used the lead pipeline as a way to kind of process our projects before they became actual deals. And so we were using it. However, the workflow came out, and that's magnificent. I love the change. The workflow is really, really useful.
Let me explain the idea behind workflows.
Okay.
So have you ever used a spreadsheet to manage a process, a business process?
Sure.
Everybody does. How about Trello? You ever tried using something like Trello?
I have, yeah.
So what Trello is a board with a series of stages that allow you to build cards in the stages and move them from left to right through business processes. Every business has repeatable processes, and they try to use spreadsheets and project managers to do it. The problem is that the spreadsheets and project managers aren't tied to the people and companies that they're doing the repeatable processes for. So let's think about some basic repeatable processes outside of sales. So HR. If you put an ad for a new team member to hire them, you have a series of stages that you go through in a workflow process. It might be you take all the applicants that you receive in your inbox and you put them into stage one, which is the sniff test stage, where you have to qualify them. And what I do is I go and I look at the resume, I look at the LinkedIn, I might look at their social profiles and say, is this person a fit for an interview? If they are, they go into the connect for interview. After the interview, you decide if they want to take them to the next step, and that might be to meet with the team. Or actually, no, we ask them to do some homework. So we ask them to do a task. And if they pass that task, then they meet with the team. If they pass that, they meet with one more senior leadership person. If they pass that, they get an offer. And so that's an example of a hiring process. So across your company in sales, marketing, customer service, accounting, HR, there are a number of repeatable business processes that are related to people and companies. Spreadsheets and to-do platforms like Trello don't work as well because they're not connected to the contacts. And so what we did is we built this thing called workflows. And what it does is it relates these workflows to the contacts that you already have in Nimble to help you to manage workflows across the entire department or company, not just sales. And the really cool thing is we went and built workflow templates that are built for all the common repeatable processes that you do across your company. And you can select those templates and then modify the stages or the fields that you're collecting in those workflows. And you could use it for pre-qualification for leads, of course, but there's so many other uses you could use it for, including influencer marketing or professional networking. I'll give you another example. Have you ever seen somebody on LinkedIn and decided you want to connect with them and you send them a nice draft of an outreach where you're trying to connect with them and then they connect?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What do you do next? What's your process?
Now what?
Right? You should have, right? If you identify somebody you want to connect with, then you should put them in stage one of a connection workflow, right? And then the next thing is, rather than outreach into them where you would send them an invite on something, you might walk in their digital footprint for a week or two or three or four and add value to the conversation, comment on their posts, retweet their posts, engage with them. And you know what? You may find that they connect with you. They send you invite, right? It's a warm call rather than a cold call. But if they don't, you've warmed them up, and now is the time to do the connection. But then after the connection, you want to take it to the next level, which is the face-to-face or digital connection. And then after that, you want to nurture the relationship. So there's a whole series of stages and workflows that you should be managing in a structured way. Spreadsheets and to-do programs aren't great for people and company repeatable processes. And that's why we built workflow.
And I'll say, so when you are building a prospect workflow through LinkedIn or wherever you're collecting your leads, it's awesome to be able to convert to a deal after they've gone through the stages.
Yeah.
And I will say personally, for my own Nimble that my team is using, we are tracking podcast guests in a workflow. And then we are also doing candidates because I'm doing staffing for sales and marketing positions. And then we're also doing our leads, our own potential deals. And all of that is operating within one roof of a platform. It's amazing. It's really, really helpful.
Yeah. And what I really love about it is that you can add people to workflows from Prospector. So if I'm inside...
Oh, you can, yes.
Or if I'm inside of social, I can basically add people to processes wherever I'm engaging.
Right.
And we'll soon roll that out in mobile as well.
Very cool. That was, I was wondering what was coming up next in mobile as well. So in regards to the future of CRM, not necessarily just Nimble, but the whole concept of CRM, where do you see that going in the future and developing into?
Well, I hope that the direction of CRM follows the direction of humanity as I would like to see it. I think that we need to get beyond the me and think about the we. I think that service is the new selling, and we need to change the philosophy of sales to change it from a 4 or 5 letter word into something that you can be proud of, right? Because sales is a profession, and a good one at that. But I think it's been bad mouth, starting with fuller brush salesmen and all the way to Slick Willie
car salesman. Yeah.
And I think that CRM is built for that type of salesperson today. And so I believe that social media is changing the way that we work, play, buy, and sell, making things much more transparent. I think that's why social selling has gotten such a strong foundation, because it resonates with our hearts and our souls. I think that CRMs are going to get more heartful and soulful, that they're going to be more about relationships. I think that it's something that Nimble has been focused on since day one, is putting the R back in CRM. Today, CRM stands for customer relationship management, but it really doesn't.
Sure.
It stands for customer reporting management. So I believe that we need to put the heart back in CRM, the relationships, because it's those relationships that you paid forward that will deliver for you the dreams that you dream about and the success that you would like to have. And the best way to grow is by helping other people grow at scale.
When you think about growing at scale, the first thing that pops in my mind that a lot of people jump towards is marketing automation to death, right? If somebody's raising their hand trying to have that honest conversation after they've received a message, and you completely bypass them with more marketing automation. Do you feel that there is a disservice from marketing automation, or do you...
Yeah. My inbox is a slaughterhouse. Take a look at the unread emails.
How many is it? How many does that say? 20,000? How many? Holy moly, I can't see, John. How many?
560,000.
Oh my God.
Is automation overkill? Fuck yeah.
Jesus. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I agree with you. I completely agree.
So I think that too many sales reps are relying on templated, automated tracks.
Right.
To try to break through the clutter, and it's not working. So if you want to break through the clutter, you need to get more
personal.
Authentic. People want to know that you've done your homework and that you're reaching out with a purpose, because you can add value to them, and you know about who they are, you know about what their company's about, and you're reaching out with a specific value add that's clear.
Right.
And you can make that unique and distinct. And you don't need a bunch of automated template emails to make that happen.
Well, and I think also, even, especially within the Nimble platform, segmenting your contacts and making sure that you truly understand. I think all contacts kind of fall into a bucket, personal buckets, but making sure you truly understand how to categorize that person and group them. And I believe in small groups before reaching out to any group. But I think it's really important to understand the segmenting and the tagging concepts as well within Nimble. Really useful.
I think that the smaller your segments are, the more personal you can get with people.
Right. 100%.
And when I open up an email and I can sense that this person took time to get to know who I am, what my company's about, and with a clear value add in their message, it stops me.
It's unusual, right?
It is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And I'll reply back, nice work.
Yeah.
What's your story? Right? Okay, give it to me. Right? Salespeople are the easiest people to sell to. We're empathetic to us.
Right. Give them a little affirmation. Yeah. Well, this is fantastic, Jon. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to continue pushing Nimble every single day, training in it, using it. I think it's wonderful. So thank you so much.
I really appreciate our relationship.
Yeah.
I love watching you grow, especially with your new podcast and all. And I appreciate you supporting our journey, and hopefully we're supporting yours.
Yeah, you are definitely. Thank you so much, Jon.
This show has been brought to you by the Law Office of Kyle Jones, Troy Burden with the Lynn Company, CPA John Duffield, Scott Hansen, real estate lender, broker, and investor, and Eckroth, LLC, a sales and marketing agency. You've been listening to the Our 2 Cents podcast. Check out the show notes for links and more information about the show. Also visit our website at our2centspodcast.com or check us on Instagram at Our 2 Cents Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe